Happy Wednesday and happy new section in our book. We are moving on to advertising design. This is something that I really like because this is actually what I majored in, and so I know a lot about this and spent a lot of times in college working on this stuff. So let's go ahead and talk about the things we are going to do today. First of all, you're going to watch this video, the introduction to advertising video, so you're on your way doing that. You're going to answer the questions and reply to your classmates on the March 25th, 2020 discussion board. That is the discussion board that is talking about the nonprofit you think you would be best fit to advertise for. So that's something we did yesterday, but you're doing the discussion board today because everything's due on Wednesdays and Fridays. And then you're going to answer and submit the Times Square advertising analysis questions. So let's go ahead and get into talking about our objectives now. By the end of today, you should be able to define advertising. You should be able to recognize different forms of advertising. We're going to talk a little bit about what is appropriate and not in advertising. We will go into this more into detail, but we're going to talk about it briefly today. And you're going to answer and submit the Times Square advertising analysis questions. So you're actually going to analyze some advertising done in Times Square. So what is advertising? The definition, according to Merriam-Webster, is the action of calling something to the attention of the public, especially by paid announcements. It's also the business of preparing advertisements for publication or broadcast. So what exactly does that mean? You guys see advertising all around. It's something that we're used to seeing. Most of the time when you think of advertising, you think about things like commercials. Maybe you think about magazine ads. Maybe you think about annoying ads that pop up on the internet and try to get you to click on something. Or maybe there's ads in games that you have. If you have free games, they give you ads to keep playing. But ads are basically telling the public, hey, look at this, look at me, I'm exciting, buy me, do me. Or, you know, they're trying to get your attention, and typically they are paid for. So let's go ahead and let's look at some simple advertising. So things like a bake sale, lemonade stand, dodgeball tournaments, those are advertisements in a simple form. So you may have made some advertisements on your own, whether it's for something at school. If we've done dodgeball tournaments at school. The Academic Decathlon was just selling snow cones. Miss Trigg has had the NHS sell ice cream cones. So if you've ever made a poster for that, that's actually a kind of advertising because you are drawing the attention of the public to something, in that case, whatever the thing is. So sometimes it can be just very simple like these. This little one is very cute and creative. It has fun colors, and they use the cupcake in the place of the A. Obviously, we know that that means bake sale because our brains can fill in the dots, and even though the cupcake isn't actually shaped like an A, we can still do it. Over here we have this dodgeball tournament one. It's clever because the dodgeball is flying so fast that it's forcing the words to bend, so they did a pretty good job of that. They also have a clever little slogan, we dodged Sandy, now let's dodge balls, for those who didn't. I don't know if y'all remember, but Superstorm Sandy was a huge storm that hit up in the north and caused a lot of flooding and damage, and so this was a tournament to raise money for those. So good job, guys. And then here's a handmade lemonade stand. That was a Girl Scout fundraiser. They're using greens, which points you to Girl Scouts, and yellows, which point you to lemonade, obviously. So they did a great job with that one as well. So let's look at a little bit more complex version. Times Square. I don't know if any of you have ever been to New York, but if you have, you'll know that in Times Square there are about 1,000 things to look at. If we actually look at videos of Times Square today, it looks nothing like this. It's pretty empty because they are trying to shut it down to slow the spread of coronavirus, but here we see it in its prime, and this is what it looked like even in the middle of the night. It was crazy. I remember being out there at like 10 o'clock at night, and it was still looked like daylight because of all of these different TV type of advertisements. So it was like glowing, and it didn't even look dark. It was very surreal and weird. But as you can see, if you are walking through Times Square, even if you're just looking at, there are thousands of thousands is a little bit dramatic, but there's probably 100 advertisements that we could pick out of this. And that's because a lot of people go there and they want to catch their attention. So when you're looking here, you see things from Warhorse to Wicked to Chicago to Roxy, and it's because they're trying to grab the attention of people. Advertising, we're going to talk about what is and what's not good in advertising in a little bit more detail. I'm just going to point out something that advertisers do a lot of, and it's something that is a slogan that they use, and it's something that I personally take offense to, and I want to know your thoughts on this. So a slogan they like to use in the advertising world is sex sells, and that's because if they are showing something sexy or something provocative, it's more likely to draw certain crowds in. So if you look to the left over here, where I'm circling, this is an ad for the musical Chicago. If you know anything about that musical, it is a little scandalous and a little out there. So this picture itself is not something that is the worst of the worst from that show by any means. However, it is still very provocative because it does show this woman's cleavage and her chest, and it's something that I wouldn't want my young boy, you know, I don't have boys. If I were to have a boy one day, obviously we're cutting that off. We've talked about that. Anyways, if I had a child, in another imaginary word, I wouldn't want a young man to see that because I would feel uncomfortable being around him and him seeing that. I would also feel uncomfortable if that was a picture of one of my daughters. I wouldn't want a picture of her like that. I think there's certain things that we're called to be modest with. And I think that can be something that leads to negative thoughts. As Christians, we're supposed to avoid things that can be stumbling blocks to others, and this could be a stumbling block to someone. A lot of times people don't think through what they're doing, and this could be an instance of that. So somebody who has an issue with pornography, or someone who has an issue with mistreating of women, to put it nicely, could be something that sparks them and causes them to have worse behavior. So maybe I am being a little extreme in this, and maybe that's because I am a mom and I'm older, but I think as Christians, we're called to be different, and this is one way in the world of advertising that we could do that. So we will talk about this more complexly, but today you are going to, for your assignment, you're going to analyze the picture that was on the previous slide. I will include it with the assignment, so it's easy for you to do. I want you to answer the questions that are below. How many different forms of advertisement do you see in that one image? Just go through and count as many as you can as possible. I'm not looking for a precise number, but see how high you can get. Then you're going to answer the question, which 10 stand out to you, or do you see first clearly? I was tired when I did this. Stan, we'll say, which 10 do you see first? I think this is nice that I can do this for you guys. Then you're going to pick the 3, so you'll just write down Chicago, NBA 3K, or whatever it is. That's just listing. The next question says, now pick the 3 that are the most prevalent. Write those down and why they stand out the most to you. So if the NBA one stands out the most to you because it's the biggest, put that. If it's something else because it's a certain color, put that. Just write down what it is and why it stands out to you. And then finally, I want you to write what you think about the Chicago advertisement I just discussed. Obviously, this is going in an individual assignment. I'm not going to judge you based on this. I really want to know what you honestly think, and what is and is not okay in your opinion. You are going to submit this in the text submission box, not as a file. So don't make it a PDF. If you want to start by writing it on a notes or something, that's fine, but then copy and paste it to the text submission box and submit it there. I hope your Wednesday's going great. Please don't forget to do the discussion board and submit this. Those are your 2 big things for today, and I will see you guys soon, hopefully. Bye.